St. Mark begins his Gospel with the preaching of John the Baptist and Jesus being baptized by him in the River Jordan. He follows this with Jesus preaching the kingdom of God in Galilee, calling his first 4 disciples, Simon, Andrew, James and John, and bringing healing to a man who was possessed by an unclean spirit, to Peter's mother-in-law, whom he frees of a fever, to many who were suffering from diseases of one kind or another, and casts out many devils, and in today's passage, to a man whom he cures of his leprosy. It struck me just how much tranquility, serenity, joy, good health and well-being Jesus brought into the lives of all those people. As they sat down with their families, friends and neighbours later on, their hearts must have held a warm glow of appreciation and delight at having been made whole by this man who'd crossed their path. The response to the psalm puts it into words. You are my refuge, O Lord. You fill me with the joy of salvation. Recently, I got a phone call from a friend telling me her husband was in hospital diagnosed with cancer. It had returned after a number of years. He wasn't much of a churchgoer, and he'd accepted his wife's suggestion that I might call to chat with him. I didn't think it was up to me to try to make a churchgoer out of him, but rather to be a friendly presence, a listening ear. In fact, when I called to see him, he spoke freely of his life, his family, his achievements, and of the questions the approach of death was raising. What could we know about what, if anything, comes after death? I'd brought with me a first-class relic of St. John Bosco, whose feast we'd celebrated on the 31st of January. And when I mentioned it, my friend's husband was delighted. John Bosco had meant something to him in his life. He held the relic for a while in his hands, and I eventually blessed him with it and promised I'd call back another day to see him. In the days that followed, I thought of the Christian view of death. Like the cure of the leprosy, it's rooted in faith. That faith which says to Christ, you are the resurrection and the life. I believe this because you have said it and your word is true. All the rest is of secondary importance. I pray that the sick will realize that Christ comes to them to be with them on their journey, to calm their spirit with well-being and fill their heart with the joy of salvation he comes to bring from God our Father.